Shadows in the Smoke is intended for mature audiences and may contain material that some people find disturbing. Please see the episode description for content warnings and listen with care. Welcome to the Dusk. The first thing that we do in the Dusk is roll moves that are rolled during the Dusk phase, one of which is the Quickening. Hello, Mr. Hutchinson.
Fuck. Hello, 3 conditions.
Godspeed.
Do you have a personal quarters item you'd like to use?
I have one that is unmarked besides my revolver, and that is a box with a heart in it.
I have to ask, how are you invoking the heart in trying to stave off this transformation?
The cursed is hungry. It calls for blood. Maybe if I can give it some blood ahead of time, I can stave it off for another night. So I will be using the box with a heart of one of Athena's former lovers, and I will eat that heart. 3 + 2 + 1 is 6, which means I need to spend 2, right?
Yes.
Fuck me.
Wow, this took such a dire turn.
Oh, God.
Speaking of dire, I'm going to mark my cosmic passage, increasing my sensitivity by 1 to 2, and reducing my reason by 2 to -2.
Oh, God.
For a long time, this has been Hutchinson with the beast inhabiting him. Now it is the cursed inhabiting Hutchinson. I am going beast mode.
I'm so scared.
And for my second act, I will remark the darkened threshold.
Okay. So now you must narrate another scene in which you hurt an innocent because of your curse.
As the sun sets on the British Empire and England's fair princes are snug in their beds, we see a townhouse in Wapping on the north bank of the Thames. Its curtains are drawn, and the warm golden light radiating within is completely caged by thick gold velvet drapes. On the luxurious bed reposes a man with smooth skin tanned to a golden brown even in the deep midwinter. He listens to a cylinder of music and idly plays his own harmony on a small harp, lost in reverie, the resin of a pipe glowing gently within reach. As the recording switches to Chopin's Nocturne in E-flat major, music this man cannot abide. He wrenches himself from his stupor and sets the instrument next to a gold mask on his bedside table. As he stops the gramophone, he lifts his head toward the door. Did he hear someone? No, that would be impossible. It's probably just the rain. He selects a new cylinder and closes his eyes, letting box cello wash over him when the glass of the window shatters and chaos invades his sanctum. The goat head of the monster opens and its serpentine tongue lashes out. The man catches it in his golden fist and it bares its fangs at him. The man wrestles with the monster. It's not the first time he's tangled with the snake. That was in the bright of day, at the height of his power. He tries now to grab a hold of its neck, but is stung by the tentacles writhing there. He tries to get under it and lift it, but his hands prickle on the barbed quills. His beautifully appointed solarium is brought to ruin by their struggle, its gilded decor destroyed as they thrash about, bound together, muscles entwining, the man thrashing for his survival. He does not know what it would mean to die. He does not know if he can, he thinks, as the monster pins him. After some time, just before dawn, the cursed monster slithers back out the window and sinks its wolfish head into the raging river, the taste of citron and bay laurel and spiced honey on its tongue.
I can't believe you.
You're so wild for that.
Yeah, that...
You broke my heart.
Now I have to kill your brother?
You threw my soul out the window onto the lawn.
Did you kill him?
I ate him.
So, Mr. Hutchinson, please replace the condition runaway with drained. And Miss Douglas, are you using Moonlight Upon the Waves tonight?
Yeah, I think I am going to do Moonlight Upon the Waves.
Okay. Now I would like to invite you all to answer a question, should you like to. we have 4 threats that we are currently working on. Last and least, we have the Waitley camera.
You don't need to be like this.
We have only 3 clues for our complexity 8 questions, so we cannot even attempt to answer it this evening. So that will go unanswered. We have the Pinkerton, who has a complexity 4 question. We have gathered 2 clues for the Pinkerton. We have Fig's Pigs. We have 1 remaining fig on the lamb, or the ham, if you will.
Oh my God.
It was right there the whole time.
And 3 clues with which to try to answer a question concerning Patrick Fig. I will remind you that the very last Fig must be resolved during the night phase. And then we have the Coven, a complexity 6 question, and we have 6 clues. So are there any questions we would like to answer today?
Why? Why are you like this?
That's a good question for my mom. Hey, Janet.
Hi, Janet.
Hi, Janet.
Hi, Janet.
It's been so long.
I know. I have a pitch for Patrick Fig.
Okay. The clues we've gathered for Fig's Pigs are various detritus from the River Thames gathered and formed into a giant nest. A report that a bunch of chickens have been brutally killed, but there were human footprints leading to and fro this supposed animal attack. And Mr. Hutchinson found in a Roman ruin beneath London dots of dried marmalade, making a path as if leading something in or out of a particular place. The question for Patrick Fig is simply, what kind of animal does Patrick Fig think he is? It is a complexity 2.
My first pitch here is that Patrick thinks he's a mink. And a mink is a member of the weasel family. They are actually notorious for killing chickens. And as far as like the water, they're very aquatic based. And so they would make sense that he would be pulling stuff to make his nest from the Thames. And then because they're very like scavenger oriented, they would go after something like marmalade as like a way to like lure them in. But we're also still luring a boy at the same time. But they do scavenge and get into trash as a means of finding their food. So that would cover all 3, as would a raccoon. So either one
Raccoon was what I was thinking.
The raccoon's the other one. A lot of like similar traits. The only reason that like I say like the mink is because it fits the aquatic aspect of pulling things from the Thames just a little bit better.
Though raccoons like to wash their little hands in the water.
They do. And they also build nests.
Yeah. So a raccoon or a mink actually like covers all the clues. If he's just washing his little hands at the river and then, ooh, a piece of trash for my nest, off I go.
So do we want to go mink or raccoon?
I was going to say, mink is very fancy, and I like the idea of wearing Patrick to our holiday party.
Boo.
What is wrong with you?
I'm a monster.
That was not what I was expecting you to say, and I'm somehow not mad about it.
I have no reason.
I like mink.
Yeah.
Mink is great. Let's go mink.
All right, so this is going to be at a +1. Who wants to put dice on the table?
Nat and Cass, that was your theorizing.
Sure. Be nice to me. Be nice to me. Be nice to me. Ah, 6.
It's a 1, so it is a mix.
Yeah, I would bump that then to full success.
It's our last Fig's Pigs. Let's bump it up.
Let's do it.
The Mask of the Pig reads as follows. Each hunter narrates a dream about the pagan swine god Mok. Did Mok demand a sacrifice of riches, status, or blood? What did they each sacrifice?
Rabbit hasn't dreamed on his own for quite some time, so it's been a while since he encountered Mok in someone else's dream, back when he was wearing a different face. Even the Master of Nightmares knows that when you encounter a power older than the current courts in someone's dreams, it is best to pay it respect and deference. So, he did. And the man whose dream Rabbit met Mok in never woke up.
Maisie has a dream of Mok, but it doesn't feel like a dream at first because it is simply reliving the first moment that she met Mok in the pantry. She has this view of herself walking from her room through Hargrave House at night. The house is utterly empty, utterly quiet, and she makes her way down into the larder and is face to face with this writhing pile of meat, larger than she remembered it being, stinking of rotting flesh. And in the demanding of a sacrifice, she reaches into the fish tank. But instead of killing the lobster that she pulls out of it. She instead finds herself wrenching its claws, slicing her own wrists, and letting the blood pour forth into Mock's mouth.
Augustus Hutchinson dreams of his native home of Savannah, Georgia, and the manor in which he grew up. He's walking down a long lane toward the house, but it never seems to get any closer, and he's wearing a fine silk suit. On the way, he grows tired and stoops, then crawls to all fours. Sitting on the porch, he suddenly sees his mother. She's holding her head in her lap and trying to sew her ear into a purse. Hutchinson looks to his left and sees the head of Mock on his mother's body. The porcine eyes gaze into Hutchinson's, and he knows what he must do. Taking a torch from the ether, he sets his home ablaze and revokes his status as a man and embraces his life as an animal.
Ina dreams of the basement of the Fig's home that Augustus defiled in her name against Mock. As she descends the stairs into the space, there are no walls. It's more celestial, divine. And that table and 2 chairs sit in the center of this wide, open expanse, with Mock in one of them. She approaches holding Aegis and her spear, but sets them down across the table. At her seat is a knife, because from one god to another, riches and status mean nothing. Suddenly, Mock produces a hollowed tusk and slides it across the table, and she catches it in her hands. Picking up this blade off the table, she runs it from elbow to wrist, letting her blood fill this tusk-like horn, the material changing to something darker. As she continues to bleed, she walks over and hands it to him, gives him a slight nod but not a bow, and he drinks it as she moves back to her seat and begins to bandage her wound.
Thank you, hunters. Mask spent. That moves the answer for Patrick Fig up to a full success. Well done. Your answer is correct. Patrick Fig thinks he is a mink. You may resolve this threat by luring the animal out in the open and then capturing or destroying him. Are there any other questions we would like to answer this dusk?
I would love to take a stab at the coven.
I thought you would say that. You've certainly been putting a lot of energy into resolving this threat quickly. The clues you have for the coven are as follows. A tarot card washing up from the Thames, the magician. The coven was seen poring through books about old railway stations. Members of the coven are plagued with dreams of the color green turning into black. A member of the coven implied that Professor Somerset could be found, quote, where water is running upstream. Stories of a local steel mill being shut down, its workers turned out into the street. And a member of the Fae said that all of the cats in a particular neighborhood have been gathering in the same spot every twilight and being compelled to gaze up at the stars. The question for the coven is simply, when and where will the final step of the coven's grand ritual take place? It is a complexity 6.
The when is fairly easy. It is tonight, and it is specifically tonight starting at twilight because of all the cats who have been gathering in the neighborhood at twilight. As the coven has been working their magic, the cats have been drawn to it. They have been working their magic in that neighborhood, and specifically in a steel mill that has been shut down in that neighborhood. Because if you're intending to capture and bind someone with Fae magic, what better place to do it than a steel mill? Which is also why they were researching the old railway stations, because they needed to find one that was relatively close to where they're going to do the final preparations. Because while this ritual will bind Rabbit, the final step of it actually takes place somewhere else, which we'll get into if we ever get into my Masks of the Past. But this is the ritual to bind Rabbit. Water running upstream seems tricky at first, but as part of the Bessemer process of making steel in this era, you would have to pump water in to cool down the hot metal at certain points. And similarly, with the color green turning into black, this represents the Green Isle of England being crisscrossed with iron and steel railroads as the coven takes over more and more. And finally, the magician. is just Professor Somerset himself, who will be leading this. Fun fact, at this point in time, because we are still pre-Rider Waite, the magician is not some great sorcerer, magi type. The magician is a con man. The magician is a charlatan. The magician is someone who pretends to have magic and uses powers that he doesn't. And if that's not a description of Professor Somerset, well, then I don't know what is.
Do we just want to...
Yeah, let's all just...
Look, I've been thinking about this, since the last time we played. I'm like, how can I use every single one?
The, folklore interpretation of the water running upstream to be a pump was,
Green turning into black really sent me.
My guy.
chef's kiss. It was like the 2012 Olympic opening.
Does anyone have anything else they'd like to add to that question?
No, I don't.
No, of course not. He killed
I'm
it.
so full off of that. Thank you. That was a meal.
I would like to posit that the magician is a magician who uses real magic, and it is not Somerset, but it is Rabbit.
I would say that is also a valid interpretation, is that which side of the magician is this?
This is a flat roll plus 0. Who is putting dice on this table?
Robert, only.
I think it's Robert, both dice.
I think it's only fair if I roll this.
All right.
I rolled a 2 and a 3 for a total of 5.
Oh, no.
So your answer is incorrect, and I will make a hard move against you unless all of you spend a Mask of the Past right now. There is no threat-specific mask for the Coven, so if you wish to bump this up tonight, all of you must do a past mask.
I'm in 3 masks one night. Let's go.
Dear God, T.
Yeah, I'm down.
I was going to say, T, you're the one who this is the biggest ask for.
T, I am sweating.
I'm also sweating.
I'm an animal. I'm a beast. I got nothing to lose. Let's go.
Is everyone willing to spend a past mask right now?
I am willing to spend one.
Let's go.
Okay. I think it's only fitting that we end with Robert, so if the other 3 of you, let's hear your masks.
Narrate a flashback to the time when the quickening curse caused you to hurt someone you care about. 1846, the Sierra Nevadas. After receiving his curse, the man calling himself One-Shot John tried to run. There was a pull in him, calling him toward the Atlantic. The dark-haired man said John worked for him now, and that occupation was etched into his bones, calling him east. So John does the opposite. In May of 1846, he joins a wagon train taking the Oregon Trail in Springfield, Illinois. They aren't much as far as pioneers go. Their patriarch is pushing 60, and John is easily able to make himself useful to the old man, as a hand fixing busted wheels and hunting for game along the way. The oxen don't take a shine to him, but he doesn't care for them much either, so that's all one. The old man's wife, some 16 years his junior, does take a shine to the new hand, and insists he stick close to their wagon for the protection of our girls. She has 3 daughters, and those girls decide their chief occupation is disturbing John's rest every time they make camp. So he'll chase them around like a cinnamon bear while they giggle and squeal. Always the entertainer. The youngest of the sisters is a little thing, no older than his own baby would be. Maybe that's why he promises, as she sleeps one night, I will do anything for you. In July, while at Fort Laramie, they receive word of a shortcut. The girl's mother is dispirited at the thought of taking it, but the old man makes the decisions, and he decides. It's rough going. After plodding through Satan's own summer in god-awful Utah with the muck and mountains and Mormons, they at last ascend the granite slope standing sentinel between California and the rest of the nation. As if they hadn't been hindered enough, an axle breaks on one of their wagons. John offers to fix it, but the old man, perhaps to flex his waning potency, goes into the woods to fashion a replacement and slices his hand open for the effort. John stays behind and flexes his own with the old man's wife. That charlatan Hastings' so-called cutoff strands them in the Sierras. In the first week of November, a storm comes in, so oceanic it lasts for 8 straight days, like some sort of perverse Hanukkah. The blizzard pins them in the mountains. One-Shot turns 23 near to starving, fearing for his life at a spot called Alder Creek. The oxen die, so at least he has that going for him. The family eats their meat, then their hides, and boils their bones, then leather from their shoes to sustain themselves. There's talk of setting out on foot to seek rescue, but as John makes his way to descend into the valley, another week-long storm blusters in, and it snows so deeply the remaining livestock die, and the party is covered in an ocean of white. The old man's cut turns gangrenous and spreads to his shoulder. It seems certain he'll perish. No one was doing what needed to be done, and those little girls were going hungry. At night, in the pines, John huddles and shakes in the cold, trying to keep the change from taking over him. But he doesn't have much practice at it yet. Eventually, he is weak, and he is hungry, and he succumbs. A man named Berger, appropriately enough, was the first to go, then the others. Starving hands don't stand a chance, but the girls are fed. One night, their mother witnesses his transformation. She doesn't invite John to her bed after that. When at last a rescue reaches the girls in spring and takes them to Sutter's Fort, their mother insists on staying behind with her husband. A few days later, the man dies anyway. She promises John she won't breathe a word of any of the ordeal or anything she's witnessed to anyone as long as she lives. She doesn't live long. There's some solace that at least her girls didn't have to eat her, but to the cursed, all that meat seemed an awful waste. Augustus Hutchinson never does see the Pacific. When the snows begin to melt, he takes the hint and turns back east.
Narrate a flashback that shows when you cruelly discarded the artist. The sky above London was a dull smear of ash, the kind of sky that drank color from even the boldest brush. Fog clung to chimneys like regret. Inside a dim studio near the Thames, John William Waterhouse worked feverishly, brushed a canvas, soul to edge. He had painted her before, many times. Once as a whisper in the woods, once as a woman with hands like commandments. But this was his masterpiece. She stood atop a marble pedestal surrounded by Greek columns as if she were a statue on display. The sky behind her is a stunning, unearthly blue, yet dark clouds roil at the edges of the scene. She is wrapped in a billowing ribbon of silk, cinched by a gold cord adorning her waist. In one hand, Aegis, the other reaching towards the heavens. Her beauty is otherworldly, her face serene except for a small feminine smile playing at her lips. The piece feels almost tranquil, serene, but slowly gives way to boiling, angry waves, clawing and coiling, unable to reach. He had named it simply, the Mistress. She came, uninvited, as always. He didn't hear her enter the studio, only felt it like a room holding its breath. She stood behind him as he revealed the canvas. He turned, expectant. Hope made a fool of him every time. "I made you beautiful," he said. "I was already beautiful," she replied. "But now, they'll understand. They'll understand him, John. His need, his hunger, your mistake, John." He flinched. "Do you feel nothing?" She studies the canvas a moment longer, not with admiration but with assessment, the way one evaluates a flawed argument. "I feel accuracy, and this isn't it." Her gaze shifts back to him, cool as cut glass. "You set me above the waters, poised to slip, to lose my footing. You made a promise on my behalf to someone old, proud, and listening." The air in the room tastes suddenly of salt. "Do you know what this will cost me?" He swallows. I only wanted to show your power, and instead you've made me weak. An empty shell to be buried in the sands below the tide." She turns from the painting at last, any trace of herself withdrawn from it, leaving only pigment and presumption behind. "You've used my image to settle a debt that was never yours to touch, and with it, I see where your loyalty truly lies. I don't know what else I expected. Men are so easily swayed by the illusion of power." She moves toward the door. The fog presses harder at the windows as if something beyond the river has noticed the slight. "I will not shield you from the consequences. Not from him, not from yourself, and certainly not from me." And then she's gone. The studio feels suddenly too close to the water. The painting's waves, restless, offended, no longer denied, but no longer answered.
Narrate a flashback to when the thief forced you to humiliate or hurt someone. His study, the scent of pine leaching from the desk, a framed portrait of him and his children, the sky still dark and full of stars, my pelt thrown over the back of his chair, his fingers running across the fur. "Sit there, now. Your little escapade has threatened my child's future. I don't take kindly to those who threaten my family." A hand raised as he shakes his head. "You will not speak. I am not interested in hearing what lies you might have to try and sway me, sea witch. Unlike my daughter, I have no patience for that sort of treachery. What you will do is confess. This morrow you will stand before Lady Elizabeth and tell her what you have done, how you have corrupted her spirit with your false promises and your ungodly sorcery. You will tell her you do not love her, and that whatever she may think she feels for you is a fabrication of your own doing. A moment of crackling silence, a gaze obstinately unblinking. All of this you will do, or I will throw this hide directly into the fireplace, and I will watch you writhe and scream until there is naught left but ash. Her room. A candle, the wick burning blue on the short wax stub, her chest rising and falling peacefully, moonlight shining off her brow and the ridge of her nose. Sitting at the foot of the bed, eyes running over every delicate feature, whispering her name in the half-dark. She sits up, her face bright, then confused. What are you doing here? I thought we were meeting at the shore. I have to go. Is it morning already? I can't believe I almost missed it. Let me grab my things. You misunderstand. You are not coming. What do you mean? Has something happened? I do not want you to come with me. May, I know it's dangerous, but we'll be together. We'll be all right. I have you, and you have me. I do not want you. Stop saying that. I do not love you. Yes, you do. No, I do not. Well, I love you. You feel infatuation. Nothing more. Why are you doing this? I was bored, and you were an easy mark. I found you. I came up to you. It is easy to make someone believe something is their idea when you have magic. But now I'm bored again, so I'm leaving. Goodbye, Lizzie. May, wait! The door slamming behind me, her sobs echoing through the wood. Pine.
Narrate a flashback to your young adulthood that shows part of your initiation into the Coven. Name the Coven. Months have passed since Morgan and Percy were inducted into the Occluded Sons of Herne, and while the meetings have been fun, Morgan's initial assessment has proven true. A drinking club with the barest trappings of esoteric ritual and philosophy. Professor Malcolm Somerset, though, has proven to be something more. He routinely invites them to his Cambridge flat or London townhouse to take a look at his latest acquisitions, crumbling tomes and ancient artifacts, or to simply talk magical theory. To the hand of the Whispered Monarch, this is a very fun game, one of knowledge and secrets, bluffs and half-truths. Somerset takes the boys to seances and other psychical performances, and meetings of the Royal Society of Esoteric Research. So when his invitation to a private event at Frogmore House came, it wasn't unexpected, but it felt different. The coach ride out to the home park takes the better part of the day, with the boys arriving too late for dinner, but with just enough time to sneak away for their own little picnic before drinks. On their return, Professor Somerset greets them warmly. Percy, Morgan, I'm so glad you could make it. Now, all the real excitement happens tomorrow, but I thought you might enjoy a little preview. They descend a flight of stairs, and Somerset opens a locked door at the bottom. The Queen has been very generous to me, granting me several rooms in this estate for my work. The room beyond the door was probably a wine cellar at some point in its past, but the bottles and casks have been replaced by a museum of horrors. Dissected pixies preserved in sealed jars, scraps of devil flesh emblazoned with spiky runes, the head of a satyr mounted on the wall. Everywhere Morgan looks, a new terror greets his eyes. You see, for several years now, I have held the title of Royal Magus. For most, an empty title, worth nothing more than the small purse attached to it. But Her Majesty has been very pleased with my efforts, and so she's granted me these rooms to practice my science. She recognizes a will to power, and that is what separates men like us from the herd. The Occluded Sons of Herne, the Oana Society, the Hermetic Temple, the Royal Society for Esoteric Research, the Hellfire Club. Hell, even my predecessors in the role. Foolish boys performing silly rituals. They probably wouldn't know what to do with real magic if they ever fell into it. They barely do anything with the wealth and status they already possess. But men like us, the kind of men who can recognize power and are willing to do what it takes to seize it. We are the men who run the Empire. We are the men who created the Empire, who took a backwater rock and made it the center of the world. The others are useful, perhaps even necessary tools, but we are the skilled craftsmen. And I think you belong with us, Percy. Morgan, By now, I'm sure you've noticed the iron in the walls. Thin wire, hardly enough to bother with. Until you run a current through them. It has something to do with electromagnetism, I'm told. It seems to affect your kind in very interesting ways. Personally, I'd love to run some tests, but alas, there's much to do before dawn. Tradition must be maintained, and it's done this way since before the Conqueror came to our shores. One way or another, tomorrow, you will both join the wild hunt.
Masks spent. This bumps up the coven to a mixed success. Your answer is correct. However, there is a complication or difficulty in resolving this threat. I'm trying to think of what would be a good complication here. Does anyone have a pitch for how to make resolving the coven harder than it could have been?
Yes.
T, what's yours?
There was talk about railway stations. It's not at the station. The train has left the station. The ritual is happening on a moving train.
Oh.
The train has literally left station.
I love a train battle with the coven. That's very fun. Because we are doing Moonlight Upon the Waves tonight, that means we have to do a London night phase. So I will ask, what is everyone doing tonight? Miss Douglas, you are spoken for.
I think I have a train to catch.
I will go along with Rabbit to help him take care of Somerset.
And this big bad wolf is taking down the third little pig.
Tonight's unseen is called A Night at the Museum. In the heart of Bloomsbury, the British Museum has recently been expanded and renovated, housing relics of civilizations plundered by British adventurers, explorers, and colonial officers. Kamal Mansour once led excavations in Luxor, but came to work at the museum as a caretaker, and we follow him on his nightly rounds. Cass. Kamal sighs as he sees the soot and grime of industry settling on the Parthenon marbles. What scenes does he see of classical Athens that demonstrate its role as a dominant center of civilization and martial power?
As Kamal is making his rounds, he passes an ancient door to a gallery he does not hold the key for on his way to where the Elgin marbles are housed. As he assesses them, he sees the Panathenaic procession winding toward the Acropolis. Youths on horseback with their bodies disciplined and upright, maidens carrying folded peplos with solemn pride, elders walking with grave dignity. It is not merely a festival, it is civic machinery in motion. Every citizen in place, every role understood. He sees the goddess enthroned, helmeted, composed, shield resting but ready. Around her, gods look on as if acknowledging that here in this city, thought and warfare are twins. He sees the calm geometry of columns, the mathematics of beauty, a city that believed proportion could govern the world. And beneath the soot, he sees power, not loud, not crude, but disciplined. An Athens that did not merely survive, but instructed.
Let's begin with Ms. Maisie Douglas, taking to the waters of London.
The water is always a comfort for Maisie, and as the pelt becomes more and more fixed, so that it's still quite a ways off, it becomes more and more of a comfort to put the pelt back on, and less of a panic or something that causes distress. And the other thing about the pelt that is more magical is all of the repairs that come with it have added essentially scars to it that make it more beautiful. And since the last time she transformed, it's been mended a couple more times. And the new mends show up as a crust of crystallized salt from the place where Mistress Beaumont mended it with sea salt and her magic, a swath of fish scales that shimmer like Merlin's, and a pattern of icy snowflakes from where she fixed it with ice from the sculptor's lair.
And Miss Douglas, as you take to the waters, tell me the boons and the complication that you are invoking tonight.
I would love to find a clue for the Whately camera if I'm allowed to.
Sure.
I would also like to repair the pelt with the help of a relative. For complications, I think the least terrifying is to gain the condition sea longing, Especially if I'm meeting one of my relatives. I feel like that feels appropriate.
Mr. Hutchinson, you have set out to try and lure Patrick Fig to you. How are you going about this?
I know where his den is, and I know how his mother lured him there. I'm going to use the same bait. Not far from the riparian entrance to this subterranean chamber is a marmalade trail. Not far at all from that marmalade trail is a tin can with marmalade at the bottom and 2 nails put at descending angles within. The mouth of the can is too wide for something without a snout to get its tongue in and lick the marmalade, but it could slip a hand in. However, once it touches it, it won't be able to pull it back out. Attached to this can is a long chain.
Mr. Lloyd and Miss Thanero, you have a train to catch. But before that, as you are traveling to the railway station, I have a paint the scene for everyone. On this night, how can you tell that the Fae, who ordinarily call London their home and playground, have fled the city at Rabbit's warning?
There is no music in London tonight. All of the buskers on the street have gone inside because of the rainy weather. Shows have been cancelled. Even the Royal Opera House sits silent tonight.
With the clouds that came with the rain, it is already difficult to see the night sky, but it's almost as if there are fewer stars. Where normally there would be hundreds of bright lights glittering across the sky is dull and dark.
It is still early evening, and the true notice of this won't take place till far after midnight. But unless something is done, no one in London will sleep tonight.
As the carriage runs along the cobbled street next to the Thames, normally with all of this rain, the Thames would be roiling and moving very quickly, but the top of it is completely still.
Your carriage arrives at the railway station near the steel mill, and you see this locomotive start pulling away. What are you doing?
Right before the carriage has made it to the station, Rabbit is going through his carpet bag, making sure that there are a few things that he stashed in there still in there. He looks up from this for a moment. Bugger, we need to catch that train. I thought they were doing it at the mill itself, but no, it's on the train. I can feel it. We need to get on that train now.
All right, well, we better run. And Enith throws open the door of this carriage before it's even come to a full stop. As she's going, she's ripping off a glove, throwing it to the wayside, and pulls out Aegis and has it in a hand and is just pumping her arms, all of her wonderful athleticism on display as she makes for this train.
Similarly, Rabbit leaps out of the moving carriage, but he doesn't seem to hit the ground. His feet seem to stop just a few inches off of it as he full-on flies towards the train. But as he gets close, you can see the smooth path start to falter just a little bit, and just as it seems like he might stop entirely, he grabs a handle onto one of the boxcar doors and pulls himself on.
And Ina is right behind him, effortlessly grabbing on to the door handle and climbing into this boxcar with Rabbit.
Right, so, like I said, dangerous men. Some of them might be, pretty powerful, not just magically, but in circles of politics and whatnot, so this is your last chance to turn back and leave me to this.
I'm not afraid of some little, small men grasping at power. I'm sure I'll be able to hold my own. You just let me know what you need from me.
Well, I just need you to get me to a couple train carts ahead of us, where Somerset is waiting. But first, I've got something to put on. And Rabbit pulls out of his carpet bag the costume that Miss Beaumont made. The not entirely accurate version, but almost a masquerade version of the cloak and the mask and the armor of the Master of Nightmares. Let's do this then.
Shadows in the Smoke is a Kitten Marlowe production. This episode was edited and produced by Kim Dalton and featured a theme song by Jake Pierle. You can find out more about us by visiting kittenmarlowe.com, signing up for our newsletter, or following us on socials. For Discord access, an exclusive behind-the-scenes show, and more, visit patreon.com/Kitten Marlowe and join our favorite colony of feral cats, our Kitten Marlowe patrons, in supporting artist-driven storytelling. Thanks for listening.